Hey, this is Don Bishop with a very quick version of what you missed if you weren't at the Business Heroes event in York, Pennsylvania, December 2017. We started out the way we always do with my framework of the way I like to think about internet marketing and how we approach the subject. Very first thing is that to acknowledge that people do business with other people that they know, like, and trust. And what that means is I really encourage us to think about internet marketing and any marketing we do as person to person. So you want to be a person when you're communicating. One of the things that means is to not use stilted corporate type language, to open yourself up, to be a little vulnerable, let people know who you are, and hopefully they will get to know you and your business at the same time and come to trust you so that they can become a customer. Very quickly, a little bit about me. I won't go over a lot of it here. I've been around. I've been in business for a long time. I've been in computers and technology a long time, and I've always used computers in business in the businesses that I've run. I've been in business communications since the 1970s, really, and done everything from brochures and videos and annual reports and 3D animation and all kinds of different business communications. Been in business for myself. I've bought businesses, sold businesses, run other people's businesses, run my own businesses. My main vehicle for doing business now is Affinigent, and we really specialize in all kinds of technology, using technology to help people make their businesses better. The physical place you're here, when you do come here, is not a particularly fancy office building. We always had this aversion to being viewed as a fancy ad agency, so we don't look and we don't dress like amazing marketing people, but we act like amazing marketing people. So the summarize of our approach is that we use the technology, the marketing that we do to develop relationships with people. We're supplementing personal one-on-one relationship with technologies to make the relationship strong, because relationships are ultimately how you sell to people. I always like to really think about businesses as a sustainable kind of a business. It's really very easy to focus too much on getting new business instead of looking at the entire life cycle of a customer. I'll talk about that a little bit later. At every Business Heroes session, we have an opportunity for it to go around the room, so everybody gets to know who else is there, and we build on some of the relationship building that we do. So the holistic approach that I like to marketing is to look at every step of the cycle, and we can make the steps of the cycle as complicated or as simple as we want. I start out with a real simple approach of attract, sell, and wow as being the three phases where we have to look at things and making sure we have all of our bases covered on those three areas. Attract is getting new people in. Sell is obvious. Wow is both delivering on what we promise and getting reviews, getting testimonials, and using every customer we get as much as we can to help us get more customers and keep the building going, the business going. That's the sustainable part of a sustainable business. And as you see here, there's more details inside of this customer life cycle. And we can go into any of this anytime you want. And there's lots of people that have much more complicated looks at this than I do, but it's just a way to think about things that makes it a little easier to make sure you're covering the bases of the whole business. So in this particular Business Hero session, we're going to drill down on the topic of metrics. What gets measured gets done is kind of something that you hear a lot. So we're going to talk about three basic ideas, and that's, what should you be measuring? How do you measure it? How do we get the data? And then using those metrics to improve your business. And that's one of the key things. On the internet, we really have so many things to measure. This is one of the big changes in marketing, really. Metrics have always been important in marketing. If you go back to direct mail 30 years ago, and all kinds of marketing, there's always been ways to try to measure what's working. The big innovation now is that we have way more ways, way more data points. That's the embarrassment of riches. And we also have the ability to get this data much, much faster. So things happen very, very quickly when we're marketing on the internet. So I'm going to talk about, just as an example, a very simple sales process. Because the first thing, before we can start measuring how our marketing is doing, we have to know what our sales process is. So we're going to try to think about individual sales processes. So this is a real basic starting point. Somebody on the internet, presumably a shopping cart, somebody goes and buys something, I get money. That's my sales funnel, if you will. And it's a relatively simple sales funnel to get metrics on. If I've got a website with it, if it's an e-commerce site, I know how many people go to the site using something like Google Analytics or anything else, and then I know how much money I get out of that. So I know if 4 people get to the site, in this case, I get $1. So improving my business basically revolves around the idea of, well, I guess I have to get more people to go to my website. And if I can get more people to go, I'll get more money. But then there's also the possibility that the metrics don't hold. And if I get 50 people to go to my site, I get $0. And then my metrics have told me I have a problem that I need to fix. And that's what we want to have happen. We don't want you to have a problem, but if there are problems in your process as it evolves over time, we want to have metrics so that we can look at the problem and solve it. So one of the more common things that we might want to do with our basic sales funnels, we say, okay, well, I need to get more people to go to my website. So how do I do that? Very common to produce a YouTube video. Relatively easy these days to make a YouTube video that gets people to go to my shopping cart and get excited about what I'm doing and buy it. So I post that YouTube video. It's got a link to the shopping cart, and the metrics involved in tracking that, very simply, if 20 people go, whatever the numbers are, just examples, 20 people go to see the video. Of those 20 people, 4 click on the cart, and I get $1. So I'm reasonably happy. Then maybe I can scale the business a little more. So if I can somehow attract more people to YouTube, I'll get more clicks through to the cart. In this case, it kind of shows a problem because we got more clicks to the problem and didn't get any more dollars. So that would be something I have to fix. If things were working and everything tracked normally, my dollars actually is probably a mistake on this slide, and we'd probably get $2, $4. We'd have an improvement by generating more traffic to our site. So we can put whatever, we're going to find out as time goes on that there's different metrics work in different ways with this one. Then the next step in the evolution of my e-commerce system here is that I might decide, okay, well, this YouTube, we've got that working. I know that if I get 100 people to go to watch my YouTube site, I'm going to get 10 of them are going to go to my cart and 3 of them are going to buy. And that makes me money. So now I can look at, okay, well, now I've got to get more people to go to the YouTube site. So I might look at 3 different possible ways to do that. I might go in and do a Facebook ad or just post on Facebook, but probably not just posting on Facebook, probably a paid ad. I've got a little email list, so I'm going to send an email out to all my people telling them to go to the YouTube site. And I also have a blog post on my website that some people watch. So I'm going to write a blog post about the video to get them to go into the website. One of the key concepts of doing this is you have to decide when we're going to do this for the Facebook ads, the email, and the blog. The goal of those in this context is to get people to go and look at the YouTube video. This is one of the hardest concepts for a lot of people because you start to write this email for instance, and you end up writing an email about why they should buy my product, because you're always trying to sell the product. But we're trying to develop a relationship here. So if we go immediately in the email right to buy my product, it's kind of jumping over a step. And it's jumping over a relationship building step. So you're not building the relationship. So the video is used to build the relationship. And then the cart is used to sell the product ultimately. So there's absolutely no problem sending out an email, sending people right to a cart. But that does not do the relationship building. So it may work in many situations. It may well be worth a try. But the strategy that I have seen work more often is to slow down the process a little bit and develop a strong relationship with your prospect. So there's a lot of other ways that we can different kinds of paths that you might see in different situations. And a lot of people at our meeting, don't necessarily sell online. They sell more personally. They need to talk to people. So they might be using the last on this list, which is, their goal is to get somebody to make an inquiry, to ask about a product or something like that. Then they might start an automatic nurture campaign, but also manually do a quote to them, send them a quote. Or they might have a blog, and the third one on the list, a blog to a free consultation. And then that free consultation is followed up by personal selling. So defining your sales process is really the first time part of being able to use internet marketing effectively and being able to track metrics associated with that. Here's an example of a very simple path that we used. I had a web development business in 2010. I decided I wanted to market differently. So we created the Spiffy brand to go after a specific different target market than we were already targeting. It was a national market where we were experts in a niche. We bought Infusionsoft, we created the brand, we created a new website, and that website, we optimized it for certain keywords in that niche market. So we were getting traffic to there. We also paid for a very small amount of Google ads. I think it was $17 a month or something like that. So we got traffic to the website. On that website, we were presenting the 10 things everyone should know about DNN in that case, which was our product. So we had a lead magnet that people would request. And once they ask for that thing, which is targeted for them, so we're selling the other thing, we're not selling the ultimate product. Once they requested that, then they'd get an email sequence where we would deliver it as a PDF and then follow that up with some other opportunities to tell them about who we are, what we do, how we work, all of that sort of thing. We would eventually send them a little survey, ask them what kind of problems they had, or send them to the website where they could describe a specific issue they were having that with a website, which is something that we could solve. And then the ultimate sale for us was for them to go back to the website and purchase a block of hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, whatever, so that they would hire us to fix that problem. So that's a very specific and relatively simple sales pipeline that we used when we first started out with internet marketing. And that sales pipeline still works today and generates leads for us, and is a pretty good example. So next we'll go into our sales process worksheet, and for the video purposes, I'm not going to talk about that. And if you want to get that, there'll be a place for you to set up an appointment or something at the end. And I'll be glad to, I'll try to make a link so that we can send you that worksheet and the instructions about how to use the worksheet. But generally, the worksheet was a way to get people to walk through the process of thinking about, okay, what is my sales process? And it's usually hard for people to think about what is my sales process, but the worksheet takes you through. So what's your ultimate goal? What are some of the steps that you go through now so that we can create a sales process for you? So metrics, there are a bunch of different tools that we use to track things. Google Analytics is one of the most popular analytics packages. There are a lot of other ones out there. Google Analytics is free, making it and it's extremely comprehensive. And in Google Analytics, there's two kind of customized things that are really valuable to a sales funnel that you can do. And one is you can track goals, which are we can actually specify certain things on a page, so that, if our goal is for them to get to a certain page, like maybe a thank you page where they request information from us, we can set that as a goal. Google will track that for us, and that's a relatively easy thing to put on a dashboard or something else. So you don't have to actually go through and look up every page, each time. But if we have a goal for campaign number 1, we can see, okay, well, we had 400 people went to the site and 25 of them achieved this goal of going to this certain place we want them to go. And the other kind of more advanced thing in Google Analytics, but really relates to internet marketing metrics, are tracking sources and mediums of where traffic comes from, so that we can track exactly what's working and what's not working, because that's one of the real goals of metrics, is to track what's working and what's not working in our campaigns. So this is where that becomes really important. At the UTM, we talked about having the Facebook and the email and the blog. One of the things that if I do those 3 things, I don't want to just have metrics of how many people watched the video and then how many people bought and how much money did I make, but I also want to know, so of those people that watched the video, how many of them came from Facebook, how many of them came from my email, and how many of them came from my blog. So that's kind of critical information. The UTM, which stands for Universal Tag Manager, not important, the mechanics of this, because it's relatively easy to make it happen, just the concept. The UTM is a link that we put on that sends information to Google so that it'll track these. But I would have a unique tag for Facebook and for the blog and for the email, so that Google will report that when you get 100 people watching the YouTube video, here's where they came from. They came from, some came from Facebook, some came from the blog, and some came from the email. And we can take that a step further and say, it's not just that they came from Facebook, but we can say which post or which ad on Facebook did they come from. So say we went into Facebook and we created a video invitation to go and watch the other video. And we also created a little post about testimonials of people talking about watching that video and how much it helped them. So we can actually track those details within the Facebook to know which one of those were more effective. So this is where it starts to get really good, especially if we're paying for ads or anything we're doing. We can really find out which things are working. If we're writing multiple emails, we know which one worked. If you're writing multiple blog posts, we know which one worked, and then we can kind of try to improve it later on. That's where the UTM comes in. So the data that we want to be looking at, big picture for the metrics for our campaigns, there's information about the website, there's information from advertising sources, information from the email six. This is all lots of sort of technical jargon about how this happens. The concept for now is, we want to figure out our sales funnel and figure out the different things we're going to do, and then figure out how to create the metrics to watch those different things. And then once we have figured out which metrics matter, then we figure out how do we gather them and actually look at them. And this is a whole nother subject also. So we can manually gather all this stuff and put it in an Excel spreadsheet and then analyze it, which is perfectly acceptable and inexpensive way to do things. I personally like Google Sheets because we can gather things and share them in a group. And there are also some mechanical ways or automatic ways to get data into a Google Sheet so that we can look at it. And there's tons of dashboard tools that let us look at various parts of a sales funnel. And some of these are free tools, some of them are paid tools, and we can go into that as much detail if you want in a one-on-one consultation. This is just what Google Analytics looks like out of the box. You can customize it all kinds of ways, but this is just showing me, on a daily basis, traffic to my big technology website, and yes, a bunch of other things and some reasonably irrelevant things to me too in this little map. And that's something that I can customize this and make that go away, because I'm only really caring about the United States for what I do, but for what you do, it may really matter where your traffic's coming from. So this is kind of the traditional way that a lot of marketers think about a sales funnel. Where if you've got some kind of a process, that's a funnel where you have lots of leads coming in the top, and then gradually those quantities get whittled down till you get to the bottom. So a funnel like this always starts with lots at the top, and then the ones that we closed and won down at the bottom, and different steps along the way. So in this case, it's kind of a traditional sales process mentality where you've got new lead, then we've contacted, we qualified them, we're working them, and then we either get them as a customer or we don't get them as a customer. Same thing works, if we had all our sources like Facebook and blog posts and things at the top, getting leads in, and then so how many people actually watched the video, how many people actually made it to the order page, and then how many people bought. Lots of different ways to look at that. And there's all kinds of different dashboards. We have a whole little section of our business where we just work on dashboards and business intelligence for people. This is just one example of a relatively simple and dashboard that actually shows the Google Analytics for our big technology website approaching this particular event. So our promotions really started to gear up much more heavily around December 12th in preparation for a December 20th event. So you can kind of see that we didn't have a whole lot of activity around this event earlier. I mean, a little bit earlier in the month, and then a whole lot more towards as it got closer. And one of the other big concepts in terms of metrics that I'll kind of leave you with is that my initial example always talked about all the different things we get to a sale. What's my sale? How much did I make on that sale? A critical concept in most kind of marketing is the dollars associated with that one sale may not actually be your ultimate goal. And you really need to be thinking about the lifetime value of a customer rather than the first sale. So I know a lot of people, a lot of marketing people advocate that first sale, that they're fine with losing money on that first sale, because they've done it long enough and their metrics prove that, if that first sale is $20 or $1,000 or whatever it is, they know that the odds are good that they're going to move that person along, and that's going to become a $200 customer every month, or it's going to become a $10,000 customer every year, and they'll definitely benefit by having that customer. So you don't want to get a sort of a blinder's view on just making that first sale. You want to kind of look through the whole things. So at Business Heroes, we always celebrate who comes to the events, and especially people that come real often. And we also always welcome the new people. So in December, we were real fortunate. We gave out 3 or 4 attendance awards and welcomed 3 new people, which was a great thing as far as I'm concerned. We answered a lot of questions that came up, which I put in my email. Also, always give people my Bitly link so that you can go in and schedule a strategy session. So if you're watching this on the video and want to write that down, hopefully there's a link somewhere that you could click on it also. But Bitly/Talk to Don get you to my calendar so that you can schedule a 45-minute to an hour free strategy session. And we'll talk about how this relates to you, because some of it does, but I'm certain that not all of it relates to everybody I talk to. At the Business Heroes events, I'm always hoping people will tell a friend, and they always do, about the next meeting, which in this case was January 17th, 2018. And we always have networking afterwards, and there's always beer in the refrigerator and snacks on the table. So we generally have a good time afterwards and make sure everybody knows everybody else that they want to know and is able to ask the questions and make the connections that will make them more successful. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. My name's Don Bishop, and I hope we get to talk again soon. Thanks.